Recently, YouTube storyteller extraordinaire Mr.Ballen appeared on the Iced Coffee Hour podcast with Jack Shelby and financial YouTube juggernaut Stephan. Ballen, who's gotten over 8 million subscribers on YouTube by sharing the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, sat down and talked about his upbringing, his tenure as a US Navy SEAL, and his rise to a YouTube star. As incredible as all that is, at almost the very end of the 2-hour podcast where he and the hosts went on a bit of a rabbit trail talking about life, love, and how to make a romantic relationship indestructible. So if this kind of content interests you, next time the like button stops you to ask for directions, just give them a bunch of unsolicited, really bad relationship advice instead. Alright, let's get into the story. One of the big things that really is detrimental to relationships is that expectations aren't ever clearly defined. What's crazy about this little tidbit of insight is that I almost missed it because this is a 2.5-hour interview with Mr.Ballen. And this little bit, it's a rabbit trail afterthought that they started talking about right at the end. And for me, it was one of the most hard-hitting moments of the interview. And you gotta figure, Mr.Ballen, he was a former Navy SEAL. Like, he's seen some stuff, he's done some stuff. You know, he's lived this crazy life, and he had to come back into civilian life. And everybody kind of knows him for his spooky stories and his strange, dark, and mysterious content. It was kind of very poignant that it took someone who talks about such dark and disturbing things on the regular to make a point about love that is so on point.
What relationship advice do you have for me who's engaged and Jack who's single?
That it was really interesting to me, and I think not only myself, but I think the gentlemen who were doing the interview, Jack and Graham, they were eating it up. You could tell they were just absolutely gushing over, like they were nerding out talking to Mr.Ballen. And I can't say I blame them. He's a cool guy. They were just like, "Do you have any relationship advice for us?" Like when I saw that, I was like, "Here we go." He said something that was so profound, and it's so true. And I'm happy that I'm already kind of applying it in my life. But I think it's a principle that a lot of, I think especially men, don't really model for their wives or their girlfriends, right? You know, because consciously or subconsciously, women will kind of take the lead of the guy so long as the guy is leading. And that is this.
You know, I actually have something that I said to myself that I still say now, and it seems simple, but I always say to myself, I will always be good to Amanda.
I will be good to Amanda. There's going to be two camps to this. Some of you are going to be like, okay, well, what does that mean? And some of you are like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, because it's so simple, it's confusing. Because what a lot of people don't realize is, like, they get these partners and, you know, they're talking about prenups, and especially when you're talking about wealthy individuals, like they sign contracts and stuff like that just to date, like NDAs and things like that, and it's like there's no level of trust there. What a lot of people fail to realize is that when you're getting into a relationship with somebody, you are on the same team. Like, that really can't be emphasized enough. Like, we say it in our vows, through richer for poorer till death do us part. Like, you know, like, even when bad things happen, like, we are going to stick together. Like, we are in this together. Like, leaf vacuum truck is outside. One thing that my wife and I did, just as an example, and this has worked very well for us, is that we decided, listen, like, we know that there's going to be times to where we don't agree and where we're going to fight and where we're going to, you know, things are going to get heated. But no matter what, divorce is never going to be an option. Like, even if one of us completely falls off the deep end, we might separate for a little bit, but, like, we're going to come back together and we're going to make it work. The same thing with this bit of advice from Mr.Ballen, which is incredible. Like, I will be good to my partner, no matter what. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times you'll see one partner will always be kind and the other one will be making snide remarks or piffy comebacks or something like that. If we both kind of have the understanding that, like, we are always going to be in a state of weapons down, that makes for the opportunity for a lot of really healthy growth in your marriage. Now, that's not to say that you can't have conflict and that you can't discuss things or even get heated. You know, there have been times to where I've told my wife and she's told me, like, listen, I know you feel this way, but you are wrong, like 100%. And, you know, whoever's on the receiving end of that kind of has to step back, you know, do their pouting and their introspection and really kind of think about it and be like, yeah, she's right, I don't want to admit it, or he's right, whatever the case may be. But it's one of those, like, when you're under the understanding that, like, listen, I'm coming at you, but I'm not coming for you, like, that's a big difference. You know, so it's like, when your partner comes at you with a point, an insight, or, you know, even, there have been times where one of us has been like, you're being way too hard on the kids. Like, have crossed a line and you're not making a good example for them. When you have that underlying of like, I will always be good with my partner, that it's not a personal attack on you. It's like, listen, one half of this isn't pulling their weight here. Now imagine like if you've ever like broken a leg, like how much extra work the other leg has to do just to carry along the broken leg. It's kind of the same thing. So listen, you're not pulling your weight here. And like, I'll do it for a little while, but like, you better come back and like get better, like get good. And so when it comes to relationships, like Ballen nailed it. Like I think 90% of all relationships could be fixed if people just got that in their head. I will be good to my partner. And not only that, like have that conversation. If you're in a relationship and you're like, yeah, that's never really like happened in our situation, like if you can commit to yourself and like just sit your partner down and be like, listen, this is how I want to go from now on. Like you and me, like I'm going to be good to you. Understand that like even if I'm sarcastic or if I'm rude, like it is my ultimate goal to always be good to you, to always strive to be the best me towards you, for us, for the family. So in that vein, like my wife and I, like we don't prank each other, even though like pranks are funny and all that, like the person being pranked always feels hurt a little, you know what I mean? Like even though it's in good fun, like we just don't do it. You know what I mean? Because we don't want to wound that relationship. If we start coming apart, like we're all we have, you know what I mean? Especially when there are difficult days where it feels like, it's like you against the kids or you against the job. Having someone that has your back, like, is super important. Like, you don't want to take that for granted. That's it. Quick little video. If that was insightful to you, let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Please go down and like and subscribe. YouTube loves that, and I would love to get some feedback from some new folks coming to the channels.